Gannon Stauch is an 11-year-old boy from Colorado Springs, Colorado, who was born weighing only 1 pound 6 ounces and is said to have been a miracle child even to this day, according to both of his biological parents, Landon and Al. He grew up to like the color blue, and he even enjoyed coding. It was also clear he was more than a fan of Sonic, as we've seen at least one video of Gannon going around that even shows him playing the video game. Gannon just could not wait for the latest Sonic the Hedgehog movie to make its way into theaters on February 14th of 2020. You see, Gannon likely never even made it to Valentine's Day to see this movie. Gannon, who was also lovingly referred to as G-Man or Bubba by his family, appeared to beat all odds in all sense of the phrase. That is until recently. Unfortunately, Gannon seemingly disappeared on Monday, January 27th of 2020. Or did he? As many of you know, there have been a lot of new developments in this case over the last couple of days, including the arrest of Gannon's stepmother, Letecia Stauch, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where she recently traveled to and where she has family and might even have property. It's also been said that her daughter might have traveled with her, and she's since been extradited back to Colorado and is now in the custody of El Paso County, Colorado. We've been researching this case for a while and trying to find the right words to put together. Why is this case so hard? Well, Gannon was supposed to be able to trust the one who ultimately is being charged with the crimes related to his disappearance. Letecia, his stepmother, is currently being held without bond on several charges in the disappearance of Gannon, including first-degree murder of a victim under the age of 12 years old by a person in a position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased body, and tampering with physical evidence. Later in this episode, we explore what these charges could possibly mean, so stay tuned. I will also try to put timestamps in the comments below and in the description for specific parts of this episode so that you can skip ahead if you would like. People all too often forget that law enforcement doesn't have to exactly tell the truth or even clarify any rumors from social media, family, friends, or any other sources for that matter. So in this episode, we're going to further explore just what might have happened to Gannon from the beginning. We're going to discuss what we know, the many contradictions, the possibilities, and even what we don't know. As with so many cases, things are not always exactly what they appear to be. But first things first, all parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That brings us to the court of public opinion, which has evolved quite a bit as the internet and social media have definitely transformed the way the world could become involved in true crime cases. With public records so widely available, we use our experience and background to provide our viewers with content that provides context and evidence to the cases we research. But some videos may also include the views and opinions of those who appear on this channel as well. Please note that any and all opinions of those other than the channel holder are not that of the channel owner. As always, we ask that everyone draw their own conclusions based on their own research. From the very beginning of Gannon's disappearance, things seemed very off and quite alarming to me. From the contradictions in the stepmother's statements and what she represented as quote-unquote facts, all the way down to the nitty-gritty of truly where is Gannon? The 11-year-old boy who allegedly stayed home that Monday from school because he wasn't feeling well. Or wait, was it because he had a doctor's appointment? Well, you see, we don't really know because the story just keeps changing. What we do know is that a neighbor claims to have seen Gannon and Letecia on his Xfinity home surveillance video leaving the house around 10:18 a.m. together the day it was alleged that he went missing. What happens after that is a little iffy. Let me explain. Letecia supposedly reports Gannon missing around 6:55 p.m. that same day. She reports Gannon as a runaway and says that he was last reportedly seen between 3:15 p.m. and 4:15 p.m. going to a friend's house. By who, you ask? That's not exactly clear either. Initially, I thought it was by Gannon's sister, right? No? Well, wasn't that part of the reason she was asked to speak on the news with Letecia? By Letecia? We later find out that there is CCTV video that allegedly shows Letecia returning home at 2:19 p.m. that same day. In that instance, it's the same neighbor's video. We are also told that Gannon does not appear in that video. So wouldn't she have been the one to see him leave? And if she came home and he got home, how did he get home if he wasn't with her, right? Are you still with me? Well, it was even stated at one point she was the last one to see him, as we go back to who actually saw him. But she changes her story so many darn times that it's honestly just hard to keep up at this point. We don't even know who truly called 911. Was it Letecia? Was it a neighbor? Or was it a combination of both? I'm also still confused why she would state the things that she did, making him seem like a runaway, as he was gone for only a few hours because he was reported missing around 6:55 that same day, and she says he didn't leave until 3:15 or 4:15, and he was just going to his friend's house, right? Why would she be so concerned after Gannon was just gone for a few hours? Was he not allowed to be gone? There's also a news article I came across that said maybe he needed medication and she was concerned about that. It wasn't too late, it was only 6:55 p.m., right? Well, Letecia likes to make statements, and in the exact same breath, she makes the complete and total opposite statements, or makes you think the opposite by her demeanor. Have you seen her booking photo after she was arrested? She appears pretty dead inside with very cold eyes. You know how eyes can say a lot about someone? Her eyes definitely stand out to me. You know, another thing that has stood out to me is the CCTV video that was leaked to the media. I've already brought this up, and as compelling as this evidence may appear to be on the surface, we just don't have all of the facts about it yet for it to be a good, solid piece of evidence that we can honestly analyze. Most people seem to also be taking these statements surrounding the CCTV footage and taking her word as fact, and that he was in fact alive on Monday. Well, you see, here is another one of those issues with this case. Law enforcement was pretty particular about not wanting certain things released, as are most agencies. Well, all it took was a news crew reporting on scene in the neighborhood and speaking with neighbors to determine there was in fact video footage. Seems legit, right? Well, this video allegedly shows Gannon and his stepmother leaving the home on Monday morning, and Letecia returning in the afternoon without Gannon. Well, the thing about the video footage is that we never have been given the quote-unquote piece of evidence by police. El Paso County has not released any of that. So we absolutely cannot confirm he in fact was actually the person who left with Letecia that morning, nor can we confirm what day it really was at this point in time. Now, that may change later once law enforcement releases more information. But most of what we know right now is purely speculation and putting together the pieces of a puzzle we are currently missing pieces to. Another thing that troubles me about the footage is the lack of information we obtained when it was released. We also don't know if the neighbor's surveillance system had 24/7 surveillance, as Xfinity offers this, but it is not standard. Their standard service only includes motion-activated video surveillance. So without all of that information, we just don't know if what is speculated is actually fact, and maybe what could be missing may even play a bigger role, and may even be deliberately withheld. Although motion-activated surveillance cameras are great and all, they don't exactly pick up every bit of motion all of the time and aren't exactly fail-proof. So there is a big difference in these cameras, and it can make a huge difference in the type of evidence that this really is. You can also set up different things to alter the sensitivity of those cameras. So it's just another thing to keep in mind when considering this evidence. As you can see, there are definitely some other issues with this alleged piece of evidence. It's very possible this information has in fact been proven by law enforcement, and they likely have much more video out there, as Letecia allegedly ran a few errands. Honestly, you truly can't go anywhere and assume you're not being recorded. People should always take into consideration they may be recorded doing their everyday tasks like going to work, going to dinner, and all of those little things. Not even know it. It's usual and not intentional, that someone's surveillance detects the comings and goings of their neighbors. But in cases like this footage can be a true goldmine to law enforcement. Now, I mentioned that there was a possibility that maybe this wasn't even Gannon getting into the truck that morning, correct? Well, we just don't even have enough information to confirm whether or not that was in fact him either. I also listened to an interview last night with one of the alleged neighbors of Gannon as Critical K interviewed her. She's not convinced he was alive on Monday and that he hadn't passed away on Sunday instead. This is pure speculation, but law enforcement has kept very quiet about this footage, stating it's purely a part of the investigation. In a statement provided to the Denver 7 by law enforcement, they quoted, "The El Paso County Sheriff's Office declined to confirm or deny that surveillance video shared by a neighbor shows Gannon Stauch and his stepmother leaving their home the day that Stauch disappeared and his stepmother returning alone hours later." Another thing that stood out to me was the reason that Gannon was allegedly not in school that Monday morning. If Gannon was in fact sick, why was he staying home from school, but then allowed to go to his friend's house later? So if he wasn't sick and was just going to a routine doctor appointment, then why would she say that he was sick? I can tell you one thing, that I sure as hell wasn't going to see a friend on the very day that I was not in school for being sick. Now, it's a possibility that not everyone was being parented the same as they grow up, right? Well, this is just another one of these contradictions that Letecia, or T as she calls herself, has provided. You see, most of these things that we're going over, T's provided herself. She's either leaked on social media or accidentally put out there and accidentally recorded. Like what I'm going to refer to as the candle wax incident that T herself actually appears to share on social media. And this video actually highlights some incident that allegedly happened the night before Gannon went missing. Apparently in this video, Gannon had an accident. T was unintentionally recording, she says. And in this video, you can hear a TV in the background, and someone is talking about the death of Kobe Bryant. He passed away that Sunday, January 26th of 2020. So it's not too out of reach to think that this video actually took place on the day that she said that it did. It appears the Stauchs are renting the home, and this incident appears to really upset Letecia, so much so that she felt the need to record this video, even though she alleges that it was an accident. It seems that that would be pretty convenient, don't you think? Well, in theory, maybe he wasn't alive on Monday at all, and maybe this incident actually comes into play. Maybe he was alive on Monday. It's still something that we just can't confirm. We don't know if maybe this incident turned into something more severe. So this may be the alleged incident that set things off. And she actually pointed that out and put this out into the universe by posting it on social media herself. She then states in this video to Gannon that they may have to actually sell the couch to pay for all of this damage that allegedly had been caused so that they didn't get kicked out. Initially, I was wondering why in the world Al would kick them out over something like that, and it turns out they were actually renting the home. So I guess it makes a little bit more sense now why she would be angry, but even then, why would you tell an 11-year-old child that you're going to sell items to pay for an incident that he caused? And this is to get them not kicked out of their house. And then the very next day, she tells everyone that she was shopping for sports equipment and some sort of like dog jackets or dog vests or something at a pet store. So she intimidated this little boy like this and then turned around and went to the store and was spending money that she was trying to say they were going to sell a couch to prevent from being kicked out. So she seemingly thinks that she had this all planned out. But unfortunately for her, and fortunately for Gannon and those who loved Gannon, law enforcement was not going to let this one go. Although they were and are still very quiet about what has happened in this investigation and what evidence they may or may not have, they have been making progress since day one. It has been brought to my attention that KOAA News even received a tip that was presumably credible all the way back in January 29th, that Gannon was in fact not a runaway, but but that foul play was suspected and that the stepmother was already in fact considered a suspect. KOAA also states that they reached out to the media relations manager for El Paso County and was told, "We will not be confirming any information that you have in your email." Kirby said, "This is an active, ongoing investigation in the search for an 11-year-old boy. Any information prematurely released that has not been confirmed by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office would greatly hinder this investigation and would be very irresponsible journalism." The very next day, El Paso County Sheriff's Office upgraded the investigation to a missing and endangered child case. Then we have the infamous blood in random spots of the house. This has all been, again, admitted by Letecia. For example, in Crime Online, she just recently reported there was a small container containing Gannon's blood in the house, just sitting around somewhere. I don't know, she alleges from nosebleeds or something? In addition to the blood that was found in the garage on a piece of wood, and also a sock somewhere that was allegedly found during the search for Gannon. I'm wondering, why so much blood? Also, what's up with all of these accidents? Including the one where he had supposedly also hurt his foot right before his disappearance. At this point, I'm not even sure we know what blood came from what accident or illness or injury. All we know is that there was apparently multiple items of interest with Gannon's alleged blood on them. I don't know about you, but I don't just have blood hanging out in decent quantities in some just random spots in my house. So that doesn't look good for her either. In addition to the blood and the injuries, we also hear from Letecia herself that they went hiking on Sunday. Letecia reports being so distraught about Colby's death and recounts just how Gannon was very empathetic to her on that hike. She literally explains her having more tears and being more distraught over Colby, someone she had never even met, but didn't even seem to shed a single ounce of worry or even one tear over Gannon. In that exact same statement. What a sick excuse for a human being, right? Well, anyway, back to these accidents and this hike. If Gannon hurt himself, on his foot, mind you, bad enough to cause a decent amount of blood, why did she take him hiking? Am I the only one who's wondering what in the hell she's talking about here? No? Okay, I thought so. That's about how this story goes though, right? Pretty much expected at this point, I think. So there's also some speculation that Letecia might have had help, and that help she had might have actually been closer to her than some might have ever expected. There's also some speculation that maybe another person that hasn't even been introduced into the public eye yet might have had actually helped Letecia. I don't really want to go too much into that as, one, again, it's major speculation. And at this point, without hearing it from the sheriff's office, we don't really know a whole lot more about anything other than the arrest of Letecia. And two, that person, no matter who they are, is not currently considered a suspect or a person of interest that we're aware of at all. I have actually put in a request for the public records, and I received a response today actually stating that there is absolutely no reason they're going to release anything at this point right now. They are absolutely invested in this investigation and they don't want to hinder that in any way. There has been some speculation that this person might have given law enforcement the final details that they needed to finally arrest Letecia the day that she was arrested. But court records currently show the arrest warrant for Letecia was sought back on February 28th, 3 full days before she was ever arrested. It's also being speculated that Letecia flew to Myrtle Beach sometime shortly before she was arrested, maybe even just a couple days prior to her arrest. Is it possible a flight triggered police to discover more or obtain more information? Did a huge tip or lead come in around the same time? Or was that their tip? I suppose we'll find out sometime. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We also have a few different possible vehicles at play in this case. If I'm understanding correctly, there was Letecia's vehicle, Al's vehicle, which Letecia drove, according to her, to avoid putting unwanted mileage on her leased vehicle. We also have the daughter's vehicle and then some rental vehicle. This rental vehicle has most recently been brought to our attention within the last few days as a Crime Online article came out with an interview that they had done with none other than T herself. They also included this alleged rental vehicle's receipt in their article. This rental car was rented the day after Gannon went missing. Letecia said that this vehicle was rented so that they could search for Gannon. They didn't want Gannon to know that it was them if they came across him. What? Oh yeah, and that rental car had approximately 955 miles put on it before being returned just over 24 hours later. If that information is actually accurate and isn't some sort of screw up like is also being alleged on the company's part, then unfortunately, evidence and ultimately Gannon could be in such a large area that it truly makes me wonder how they'll ever find him unless they get a confession or they can pinpoint every location of all their vehicles and where they went and where they stopped in the days leading up to, on the day of, and after Gannon's disappearance, and or something else substantial happens. It's truly sad to think about us never truly knowing where Gannon is or what happened to him. Lastly, I just want to take a couple minutes to further explore the charges that Letecia currently faces at this point in time. Of course, this is as of March 3rd of 2020, and as always, this may change as well. The main charge we were originally aware of was first-degree murder of a victim under the age of 12 years old by a person in a position of trust. This is a Class 1 felony. And in this case, the Colorado Code specifically states a person commits the crime of murder in the first degree if the person knowingly causes the death of a child who has not yet attained 12 years of age, and the person committing the offense is one in a position of trust with respect to the victim. Another one of the charges is child abuse knowingly and or recklessly resulting in death. And in this case, the Colorado Code specifically states that a person commits child abuse if such person causes an injury to a child's life or health, or permits a child to be unreasonably placed in a situation that poses a threat of injury to the child's life or health, or engages in a continued pattern of conduct that results in malnourishment, lack of proper medical care, cruel punishment, mistreatment, or an accumulation of injuries that ultimately results in the death of a child or serious bodily injury to a child. And where death or injury results, the following shall apply. When a person acts knowingly or recklessly and the child abuse results in the death to the child, it is a Class 2 felony. Tampering with a deceased body is a felony 3. And in this case, the Colorado Code specifically states that a person commits tampering with a deceased human body if believing that an official proceeding is pending, in progress, or about to be initiated, and acting without legal right or authority, the person willfully destroys, mutilates, conceals, removes, or alters a human body, part of a human body, or human remains with intent to impair its or their appearance or availability in the official proceedings. And the last charge that she currently has and faces is tampering with physical evidence. And in this case, the Colorado Code specifically states that a person commits tampering with physical evidence if believing that an official proceeding is pending or about to be instituted and acting without legal right or authority, he destroys, mutilates, conceals, removes, or alters physical evidence with the intent to impair its verity or availability in the pending or prospective official proceeding. So, with all of this being said, in my honest opinion, I think Letecia truly thought she was one step ahead of everyone the day Gannon went missing, in addition to really the days leading up to his disappearance and following his disappearance. What she didn't realize is that Gannon was someone extremely special, and his face would be seen across the world. Not just this nation, and not just his city or his state. His impact was felt far and wide by many people who never even met Gannon. Gannon and his army were truly one step ahead of her. I have no doubt in my mind, Letecia will have to face her day of reckoning, and justice will hopefully be served. As I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, we're not currently able to obtain any real information that hasn't been leaked or let out in a press conference or some sort of media briefing at this point. This includes the arrest warrant of Letecia that will likely include a lot of information as far as what they think actually happened to Gannon or what they allege happened to Gannon. We have put in an open records request, so I hope to have more information as soon as it becomes available, and we will make sure that we analyze that and bring that to you guys as soon as we can. If you have seen Gannon or have information as to his whereabouts, please call the Sheriff's Office tip line at 719-520-6666.